I'm sick of pretending modern Star Wars is good. Let me elaborate before you dislike, please. For the past couple of days, I've been seeing this really stupid fucking picture of Hayden Christensen and this 12-year-old girl. And it really made me think about how shoehorned in Ahsoka is as a character in general. Like, she was never mentioned in Revenge of the Sith, she didn't exist. She really is the kind of character that works well in animation, but then you try and translate it to live action and it doesn't really work. Because even as a kid, I assumed that the Clone Wars just wasn't canon, it was just kind of its own thing. I didn't really know what canon was as a kid. Especially since a lot of the characters from the Clone Wars, or even the game, The Force Unleashed, didn't really make sense to be in the, kind of main Star Wars universe. You know, Starkiller being the one who actually created the Rebels and being the kind of the poster boy for it, I thought was just unnecessary and silly, but I like that game overall, but that was just nah. The best thing to come out of modern Star Wars, honestly, is probably two things. That would be the final season of the Clone Wars, even though you can just skip half of it. It's not that it's unwatchable or anything, it just, there's a good few episodes of Ahsoka hanging out with these two sisters. It's just a complete waste of time. And of course, the other good thing would be the first season of The Mandalorian, the thing that kind of, rejuvenated Star Wars. It was the breath of fresh air that everyone needed, especially after that, that sequel trilogy. We don't really talk about that much anymore. And it really was such a stripped down story about this guy and his adopted son. They went on a couple of adventures. It was never anything too big or too serious. He was just trying to protect the kid. And I thought that was what that show kind of just needed to be. That was just kind of it. It didn't need to be this grand adventure. Oh, we're saving the universe again. Ooh. But then season 2 came along and it really just turned into member berries. Do you remember Boba Fett? He's not actually dead, did you know that? You remember Ahsoka? She's here too. You remember Luke Skywalker? He's also here. I do hate to rag on this season so much, because it's not, awful. It's really not the worst thing I've ever seen. I sat through John Travolta in The Fanatic. What do I know?
I can't talk too long. I gotta poo.
But it really is just kind of average, all around. And maybe that's because it feels like no one took a second glance at the script. And maybe that was just Pedro Pascal was, busy. He got a fair bit of fame because of this show. But, wow, what a disjointed mess Season 3 was. Seemed like no one, there was no, second script for Season 3. They were like, hey, what if he did this? What if he did this next? Or what if this person just said this and he did this thing? Yeah, Grass, yeah, alright. Season 3's done. Alright. Truth be told, I still actually have not finished the third season. I just got bored around episode 4 or 5. And I never picked it back up because it seemed like it wasn't going anywhere. And it turns out I was right. It actually does not go anywhere. Moff Gideon dies. He wasn't in the first 4 or 5 episodes. So that's cool. Awesome. Andor also came out, which visually is a lot better than Mando and Ahsoka. Oh! That's fun. I forgot Obi-Wan came out. And Boba Fett was the other one too, yeah. Did you remember Obi-Wan Kenobi? Did you ever wonder what you were doing on Tatooine? No. He was a fucking hermit. He did nothing. What the fuck? He didn't go on grand adventure. Not the topic. Right, Andor is a lot visually better than those shows, because there's not as much CGI. There's they built real sets. Everything looks a lot better in Andor, which is crazy, because it's the show that I feel like the least amount of people have actually watched. I haven't even finished it. I got halfway through. But anyway, for some reason, people were excited to see Hayden Christensen interacting with a live-action version of Ahsoka, which I don't really get. It's But those versions of those characters have never interacted because Ahsoka didn't exist in the live action. So I don't really understand the kind of hype behind it. And I get they're the same character, technically. I almost wish Clone Wars wasn't canon. I almost wish, like, you know, there's so much extra material that is canon that just shouldn't be. Like, there's like a million different comic books. Which I do actually, I like comic books. Look. I have no intention of reading any Star Wars comics. Because I don't want to. I'm over it. So I think Ahsoka's design just doesn't really work as well in live action. She always looks a bit odd. She always looks out of place. She looks like a fan cosplay in like Comic-Con. Doesn't look right. It just, look at her. Nah. Also, in one episode you see her without her like headband on. It's so odd. It doesn't look right. It looks like they just forgot. Like they put the makeup on and then they just forgot to put a headband on. It looks shit. I think a lot of this comes down to me just being fatigued like by Star Wars because there's so much of it now. You know, when I was a kid, we got the 3 movies and then the Clone Wars and a couple of games. But now there's like this big roster. This is coming out, then this is coming out, then this is coming out. But you need to watch this to understand this, then this, then this, then this, then this. It's like, fucking Jesus Christ, calm down, cunt. It's not that interesting. And this is coming from someone who, as a kid, even as like a teenager and a young adult, I was a huge fan of Star Wars. I always have been since I was a kid. I was a fan of these movies, of these games. But then, since Disney bought Star Wars, I couldn't care what comes next. I watched The Force Awakens in the theaters day one. I thought it was really good. Then I saw the trailers for The Last Jedi. I didn't see it in the theaters because I didn't care. It was just over for me. I don't know. You know, as a kid, I used to consume every kind of Star Wars media. I read a heap of comics. I had toys. I had the games. I did everything. I'm so bored of this franchise. I won't even watch anything in the future. Like, there's a million shows coming. Because why should I care about another Jedi Survivor from Order 66? Like, fuck. Did the Great Jedi Purge kill anyone? Except the ones we saw in Revenge of the Sith. There were like 5 of them. Anyway, I'm sick of talking about Star Wars, so see ya. I lied. One more thing. One more thing that pisses me off is there's so many fucking Sith users now. Like, you remember back in the day, it was like Palpatine and then one other guy. You know, they had like the rule of 2. There was always 2 of them, no more, no less. And that's because they had the rule of 2. Which basically was because the dark side is stronger the less Sith users there are. But then, of course, they created the Inquisitors. Now there's like a fucking 1,000 Dark Jedi and fucking Sith users everywhere. And it's like, why? Why'd you do that? And Darth Vader having a secret apprentice in the Force Unleashed game did make sense because that's what the Sith users do. The apprentice gets their own apprentice, overthrows his original master, and then he becomes the master, and that's like the cycle of the Sith. That was the point. So don't come at me in the comics. Oh, but what about Stark in the day? I also hate the Inquisitor's spinny lightsabers. What a fucking stupid idea that was. Works in animation. No, it doesn't. It looks shit anyway. No, it doesn't work at all. Fuck you, Dave Filoni. Oh, also, people are jizzing in their pants over this one shot from Ahsoka, where Anakin like turns to Vader, turns to Anakin, turns to Vader, turns back, and it's like, that's not like an amazing shot. Star Wars fans are so desperate for anything to cling on to. It doesn't look that cool. It's so basic. Alright, now I'm actually done. See ya.